Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Wednesdays for Waste Warriors. And today we celebrate our 81st episode with a very, very kind and I would say experienced guest from all the way from United Kingdom who's been working for the same causes that we all have been, who's been bothered with the same questions and same problems that we all have been. And if you want to sum it up in two words, it's behavior change. So welcome, Yolanda.
Thank you.
It'll be great.
Namaste.
Namaste. It'll be great to have you introduce yourself and please share about what you do, how did it start, what encouraged you, what was your inspiration.
Well, I've had a long and checkered career. It started a long time ago during the initial dot-com boom in Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area, California. And I worked at that time in high technology. In fact, we helped to take the Mars Pathfinder to Mars and then roam around Mars. In 1997, after we landed, there was a problem. And because of my job position, I got to take the call saying, we've got a problem on Mars, which makes me the first person to
Wow.
ever take a support call from another planet. So that
Wow.
was pretty exciting. But that's my biggest claim to fame. Everything else is, pales in comparison to that. After we moved to the United Kingdom, I got a master's degree in psychology and behavior. And I started working with local organizations in Weston-super-Mare, really trying to focus on the environment. How can we help people engage with the environment? At the time, I was very focused in on recycling. As I have educated myself more about the environment, it's so much more than just recycling. It's about reducing what we actually purchase, and then when we purchase something, really thinking about what we've purchased and what's going to happen to that item after we purchase it. And the whole focus on behavior and behavior change, really understanding where as an individual we are stuck, and then trying to help local organizations and at a regional level and at a national level and an international level, really explore how people can be engaged as individuals, as corporations, and as governments, to be able to send messaging. I have spoken at many conferences around behavior change and the climate. I've been on advisory boards for different startups, from the digital deposit return schemes in England to alternate credit scoring, which is a little bit different, but it really ties into financial inclusion. And when you have financial inclusion in the mix, then you're really talking about a whole set of decisions that allow you to make decisions around the environment. If you're not just focused on where's my next meal coming from, how can we then move that up Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the next step around our environment, and not just, am I going to be able to feed myself today, which of course is very important.
Sure.
I've done a lot of work with different technologies around carbon credit tokens, and also around food security, that is very important to governments, obviously, and of course, as individuals, how much money we pay, it really depends on whether or not there's a scarcity or whether there's a plethora of food available. So that's a really important thing to help reduce the thinking about, do I have enough food to feed my family, to then be able to move up and then think about where did that food come from? What am I wearing today? What am I buying today? And so it's a very big topic, but it starts very small and very much at home.
Yeah, that's true. And I think in every country, in every society, we face the same, whether it's developing or developed.
Yeah.
Uh, where am I going to get money to eat today?
Yeah.
Um, do I have enough to feed my family? And
Yeah.
when you are bothered with those questions, climate change, environment, sustainability, everything is like backseat, or maybe
Absolutely.
next room, or maybe it's not your priority.
No, of course not. It's not. If you don't have clean water, drinking water, then I'm not going to convince you to, not buy a plastic bottle. I'm just not. It's not. It's not important to you, and you have other things to worry about and to deal with. And when we were off camera, we were just talking a little bit about. Sorry, it's cold here in England. Um, we were talking a little bit about how it's not just one organization, one government, one person. It is an entire environment
Yeah,
that we need to change around the environment. So if you don't have clean drinking water, then you don't have access to, you don't really have the cognitive load, and then this goes back to the psychology, to think about whether or not you are going to buy that bottle of water in a plastic bottle, or if you're going to bring a reusable cup with you to be able to get the plastic water. Or, of course, as families, you might need more than just a cup of water. You might need enough water for your washing, for your cooking, for your, hygiene. You need lots of water sources. So it's not simple. You need to have a huge ecosystem to be able to support being able to really think about the environment and your impact on the environment.
true. Those two were the exact words that I had in my mind: supportive ecosystem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are in 2025, and a majority of population globally does not have a supportive ecosystem.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad, heartbreaking, unfortunate? And we're all so many of us are just constantly thinking about it, working, and poverty alleviation gets so much funds, but still it just does not get solved. So like when you are talking about from psychology, behavior change, cognitive, and all these local government, all these experiences, what is your perspective? Why are we not able to solve that? It sounds so simple, but
Oh, the environment is anything but simple. And part of the problem, let me go back a little bit and talk about what cognitive load is. Um, we as humans and other species as well, but we don't really have the opportunity to talk about them, talk to them directly. We have a limited amount of cognitive load. And what that means is we can only make decisions for a little while before we get tired of making decisions. And as humans, we are naturally want to preserve our cognitive load so that when we have to make a decision, we can make it really, really fast. But in today's society, we have so many choices that we get decision overload. So here in the UK, if you wanted to go out for lunch and you want a sandwich, well, what kind of bread would you like? Do you want a panini? Do you want it on white bread, brown bread? Would you like it on a muffin? What do you want in your sandwich? Do you want egg or meat or turkey? Do you want mayonnaise or mustard or pickles or all of these decisions, all those little decisions that are pinging on you and going, oh, okay, I don't know, do I want relish on my sandwich? I don't know. And when you are making decisions, you are using up your cognitive load little by little by little. And as humans, like I said, we're lazy. We're very, very lazy. We don't want to make those decisions. We want, and we are wired to make decisions that we have to think about and decisions that we don't have to think about. Those are system 1 and system 2 decisions. When we are talking about really fast decisions that we don't even think about making, those are system 1 decisions. They're like boom, lickety split. So for instance, this is, my example is, if we're walking in the jungle and we see something orange and stripy running at us really fast, we don't sit around and go, is that a tiger?
Yeah.
Should I run away? What do I think? We're not thinking about that. We're running. We don't even think about it. Boom, off we go. But the sandwich, going back to the sandwich, what do you want to, how do you want to eat? What do you want? All of those decisions, those are system 2. We do them very, very slowly. So if I was to take you on a walk and have you do some very simple arithmetic, 2 plus 2 equals 4, 4 plus 4 equals 8. But if I get a little bit more complicated, and as we're walking, you're going to slow down. So walking is a system 1,
Yeah.
but if I'm walking you fast and then I make you think, you're going to slow down. And so
Sure.
when we are making decisions, we only have a limited number of decisions that we can comfortably make. And we don't like to make decisions. So we will make decisions based on decisions we've made in the past. So for instance, I've had a sandwich at this place before. I had it on brown bread. I had an egg in it and I didn't have any mustard. Boom, that's easy. I don't have to think about that anymore because I've made that decision once. Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, he notoriously wore blue jeans and a black t-shirt. Boom. That was, didn't think about what he was wearing. But he had other things to worry about than what he was wearing. Barack Obama was the same way. He was giggling that he went off to, he went through 8 years of the presidency with 1 tuxedo, 2 or 3 blue suits. Boom, that's it. A couple of shirts. Whereas, of course, Michelle Obama had to wear gowns and lots of things to be different. But no, as president, he was just like, nope, I don't have to think about this. So he could make other decisions, more important decisions. So when we are talking about the environment, the decisions that we make and the behavior change needs to come in to play in a way that doesn't tax us to the point where we can't make decisions. So, or we don't want to do that work. And I found that there are people who are incredibly good at making sure that everything that they do is focused around the environment. And I'm in awe of them. They do things that I, as a behaviorist, as an environmentalist, as somebody who wants to influence other people to do, I would never dream of asking people to do these things because it's too much. For
Mhm.
instance, there's a incredible woman here in our local town who has twins, and
Mhm.
she was, washing all the baby diapers. She was doing all of this incredible level of recycling, and reuse and repurposing with a full-time job and a set of twins.
Wow.
And I sat in awe of, wow, I wouldn't be able to get up out of bed with twins. I mean, that, just so much work to do there. But as I sort of unpicked what she was doing, she had set into place lots of systems so that she didn't have to think
Yeah.
about what she was doing. She wasn't making active decisions all day about what to do with various different items in
Yeah.
her life, in her ecosystem, in her daily requirements. She had systems set up to make that easy for her to do, and that is what I encourage people to do who say, what can I do? I want to do something for the environment. What can I do? And my response is, what's important to you? What do you want to do? And start slow. Another woman that I work with, she saw the David Attenborough uh, uh, Planet Earth that had the picture of the turtle with the straw up his nose. And she's like, okay, no more plastic straws for me. So she got a metal straw. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So she carries around her metal straw with her. That is fantastic. And then she's like, actually, you know what? I've got a backpack. I can carry on a cup as well. So she has her metal straw and a cup. And her backpack still has room in it. So she can put in some, a fork in there as well. So that she has, if she goes out, she doesn't have to have a plastic fork. And again, this did not happen, you know, she did not decide, okay, today I'm going to stop using any kind of plastic utensil. Um, I'm going to, slowly change my behavior. And that is fantastic. And that is how you can create change. That is how, as individuals, we can create change, and we can make it easier on ourselves to do, to live with our own, I don't know, decisions. And we
Yeah.
think, oh, but on the other hand, on the flip side, it's not just about reuse and recycling. What those things are incredibly important, but then I'm going to go back to the complexities
Mm-hmm.
of everything, and that is, it is not just about um, our own behaviors, but also how we engage with our own behaviors. And it gets very complicated if you start thinking about, if I buy something, like I have these lovely metal reusable drink containers that can keep a drink very hot for several hours and can keep a drink very cold, not and, or depending on what you put in, keep a drink very cold for, several hours, even more than almost a day. And they are fantastic products. Um, but then I learned about their carbon impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I wanted to buy one of these wonderful, really efficient containers, I have to use it every day for almost 5 years for me to have the equivalent of a plastic bottle, or the carbon footprint of a plastic bottle every day for that nearly 5 years. Now, we're talking about waste. Obviously, there's a huge more waste, but from a carbon standpoint, so which one should I do? And that's where people get confused. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I want to encourage people to do what is important to you and what you can afford. Go slowly, go in small little bits, and set up the systems. And if something's not working for you and you're finding yourself really fighting against something, then figure out where the system is broken. Is it not working for you? In what way is it not working for you? So that you can then, step back and say, all right, this is still important to me. I want to change this behavior. But it's not working for me from whatever perspective. I have an example in my own home. My kitchen is oddly set up. My kitchen is essentially in two separate rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to knock down walls and reconfigure my kitchen because it's a little bit funky. I just pretend that it's one big room with a doorway through it. Okay, fine. Um, uh, but where I do my dishes and where my food waste is, were on different places. And I was like, oh God, it's so annoying. I would have to go into the other room. And then I thought, oh, wait, isn't this my job? you know, why don't I get a separate box to put my food waste in where I would need to put my food waste? So I have two of them, It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it wasn't working for me. And I was so frustrated by it. And then I was like, I just needed to step back and then look at it and go, all right, that was silly. I have options here. I have other options. So it is really, what's important to you, what are your resources that you have available that are comfortable and easy for you to engage with? And then how can you make that as easy as possible for you to engage with?
That's true. Actually, that has been a response we've received from most of the people, that it's not that easy. They just say that it's not as easy as you think, or for you it's easy.
Yeah.
Yes, for me, like you said, it's a decision. And once I've made that decision, it's my choice and it's my way of life. So for many things, like carrying my own water bottle, and I've been using it for more than 5 years, so it's not difficult at all. But for someone else, it may be. I carry my own steel cup for tea if I go for any conference, because there we get in paper cups, which I don't want again. So all that is in my bag always. It's not difficult for me. And I always ask people, you all carry a bag. Nobody, except for men, I've seen they don't carry a bag. They just carry their cell phone or a laptop bag or something. But everyone carries a bag or backpack. How difficult it is to just slip in a little tiny thing, right? But it is difficult for them.
Well, so let me just challenge you just a little tiny bit here, and say what the difficult part that I've seen is not in having it with you. It's okay. I had a tea. I had sugar in my tea or milk or something in my tea, and then now I need to wash it and then remember to put it back in my bag.
Hmm.
And that's where that is the, oh, I forgot it because it's on my draining board at home.
Yeah,
And that is where I see a lot of people tripping up. And they'll use it
they
if they don't have to wash it all the
yeah.
time.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, you need to wash these things, especially a straw or
Yeah.
other things that you're engaging with. You do need to wash them and remember that. And that is part of the decision making and setting up the system to make that easy for you. You have this wonderful system set up for yourself, but not everybody does, and your system might not work for that other person.
True.
Um, so
Exactly.
that's
That's exactly what we want. That everyone has their choice. Like you said, what works for you.
yeah,
You need to figure out what you need when you go out. And then, can you put a system yourself instead of someone
yeah,
else dictating or kind of putting it for you? Can you do it
exactly.
yourself?
Yeah,
And I think that will be an easier process of, like intrinsic or external. So it's coming from you internally,
yeah,
and you're motivated,
absolutely.
rather than
Uh,
somebody forcing it upon you that, oh, you must do it this way. So yes, that is the way, because as of now it is all happening externally. People are telling other people,
yeah,
change this, do this for the environment, save mother earth. It's all coming from messages from outside.
yeah,
That internalization, that I want to do this for mother earth, or whatever, my own city, my own neighborhood. We have to reach there, and I think maybe some areas have reached or achieved that, and some have miles to go. So
but there's also it's not just about do it for Mother Earth, but do it also because it's actually beneficial to us as individuals. Beneficial. It is much less expensive to carry your water, especially in the UK. We've been brainwashed that we have to have water with us every second of the day, or we're going to fall down and dehydrate on the spot, which is silly. I mean, that is all just water companies making, or sorry, water bottle companies,
yeah.
looking to make a bit of a profit there. But obviously, if we're thirsty and we need water, I can go buy a bottle of water for a pound here in the UK. Um, but I could have saved myself a pound by bringing my own water with me because I knew I was going to be thirsty. And so it's not just about saving Mother Earth, it's also about saving our own pockets and our own wallets. It's something, as a behaviorist, there's a theoretical construct of a human called Homo economicus. And that is this idea that we as people, we make the smartest economic decisions, the ones that will most benefit our own bottom line, our own pockets.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. As individuals, like I said, we're lazy. We don't want to think about things. So we don't necessarily making decisions um, that really positively impact our own bottom lines. But
Mm-hmm.
if finances are incredibly important to us, and let's be honest, very few people, it's not an important thing that we need to think about, is
Yeah.
where, and when we're purchasing something, where are we setting that balance between something that's inexpensive versus something that will last a really long time.
Yeah.
So, I love your tagline, my waste, my responsibility. I think that's fantastic. It's really impactful. It's really easy. And when we think about what we're going to buy, um, first of all, if you're thirsty and you have the money for it, and you're feeling a bit poorly, don't beat yourself up too much about buying the bottle of
Yeah.
water,
Of course.
because it's important to do. And I sort of had this 90% rule. If we can do it 90% of the time, then
Yeah.
that's great. That's fantastic. If everybody could do it 90% of the time, then that would be wonderful. And we would be there, the water companies, bottled water companies wouldn't like it so much, but that's okay. They can go sell something else. And then we can decide whether or not we want to buy that. But when we are making decisions around both what we need and how much we're going to spend on something, then I think it's really important that we also think about what's going to happen to the waste of this product that I'm buying. There is a marvelous, well, he's dead now, but an author named Terry Pratchett,
Mm-hmm.
who has this great economic construct around a man. His name is Vimes, and he believes that the wealthier you are, it means that you don't have to spend money on things because you've already spent the money on something that's going to last a long time. And it's the Vimes theory of economic theory. And so, in this particular world, which is all fictional, but it's fictional, but it's also our world, is that if you are a poor man and you spend $10 a year to buy a pair of boots, those boots are going to last you 1 year. But if you're a rich man, you can buy a $50 pair of boots that's going to last you 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a poor man, you're going to spend twice as much as the rich man. So when you're looking at what you can purchase, within your means, and looking at the quality, will this last me a long time?
Yeah.
I use this in my daily. I use this today. I bought a pair of rain boots,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent 50 pounds on them, which is about half the amount of money for the expensive
Mm-hmm.
boots. And I was noticing that they're only about 6 months old, but they're starting to be worn through, and they needed a bit of stitching. So I took them to the cobbler, and now my 50-pound pair of boots is now 70 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So will I buy that same boot the next time? Well, it depends on how many times I have to repair them, how long are they going to stay waterproof, all of these things, so that I can then make an informed decision of, all right, was that too much money? Did I buy something that is just going to have to be replaced every year? Is it better? What is the best way for my own pocketbook after repairing it. Well, do I repair it? How many times do I repair something before getting something that is, a higher quality maybe next time? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
that's a very valid point, Yolanda, because um, when we as mothers, as leaders, or as teachers, we always talk about focus on quality more than quantity. We always say that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
such decision making, when you're buying something, your purchase habits, your consumption habits, at that time you must be thinking about quality over quantity. But now people are in that use and throw mindset. So they buy
Yeah.
cheap, they wear it a couple of times, and then that's it. The fad is gone. They don't want to use it anymore. So then that is causing a huge amount of garbage.
Yeah.
And then they want that others can use it. I'm done using it. So they can thrift it. But if you don't want to thrift it, how do you know that the other person wants to thrift it?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to buy fresh. Everyone wants to buy what they like. And
Well, and I'm going to go back to that, the whole cognitive load thing. Is how much time do I have to go to the thrift shops to find something that is going to be appropriate for the event I'm going to, that is going to show me off to the best of my, because I want to go to this dinner and look smart. Um, but how am I, how much time do I have to be able to do that? And so when we are looking at uh, issues around sustainability, the environment, especially fashion, um, as a behaviorist, I want to encourage you to, like Steve Jobs, think about things ahead of time before you need to. So if well, in the next 4 months, I'm going to probably go out to, I'm going to have a couple of business meetings or something that I need to present myself in a smart way. Um, if you know this in advance, then how can you move forward? How can you plan ahead so that you aren't caught short? And then you feel like you have to make a fast fashion decision. A lot of people are doing what's called a capsule wardrobe, so that you have a few, really high quality pieces that you can repurpose, that you can, either dress up or dress down, so that you don't have to have 3 outfits for a day. You can change the
yeah,
outfit that you have to suit the mood um, of the of the actual situation or the actual event that you're going to. But again, that takes pre-planning, pre-thought, and a decision making, a decision to decide to do something in advance, which, as lazy humans, it it's difficult for us. I mean, it is very difficult. It is counter to our nature, especially in today's world of, it's at our fingertips.
mm-hmm, yeah. And plus, we are all, not all, but let's say most of us are driven. Like amygdala is sitting in the driving seat. So we are like, it doesn't even reach the processing area. And we are like, okay, yeah, no, let's do it. Tips, purchase, online shopping. There's so much that is crowding or overcrowding that decision making behavior, of course. And then they are so tired making so many other decisions that they, by the time it comes to the sustainable decision making, they're like, okay, I'm done. Let's just do this time. Let's just do this one time. Let's see next
Yeah.
time. All of that fatigue comes here.
And the technology has made it so easy for us to buy. Having our payment details, saved on our phone. So all would just dink. Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to find my card. I don't have to put in the numbers. And actually, again, that goes back to a behavioral trigger called the pain of paying.
Mm-hmm.
So, some people like to pay. Some people like to shop. I'm not one of them. Um, uh, so one of my techniques that I use to save myself money is if I want something, I don't keep my card information stored there ready to go, so that I have to actually think about it and just sort of like, do I actually want this enough to walk upstairs to go get my card to pop it in? I
Yeah.
saw that we somebody, Faizan, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, but I think he's having some network issue that he's
Oh,
leaving
okay.
again, and I'm also waiting for him to join.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
if anyone else wants to ask a question until Faizan joins back, you're most
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, everyone in the panel.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
uh, and before wasting any more seconds, let me go, ma'am. You emphasis on the behavioral change, most
Mm-hmm.
important. That you emphasis on behavioral change, but
Yeah.
majority of the people in India is below poverty line. You are saying that you need to carry out the water bottles for yourself, but at least there should be having a drinking facility too, because the contamination level here are too much. So apart from the behavioral change, the administrative needs to be the proactive, when they have to be very
Absolutely.
proactive in these matters, whether that is sustainability, that's in the term of eco or green building concept. And mostly, ma'am, there have been a lot of construction processes right now going on. The
Mhm.
water level, particularly, I will tell me about myself. I'm living in Kashmir, and
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
it's very beautiful, the natural vegetation. But from the past 1 year, I am witnessing that there isn't any sort of snowfall when
Mm-hmm.
there are climatic changes, and moreover, the contamination level in waters have risen to such an extent that
Yep.
in every day or the other there are waterborne diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So apart from the behavioral change, you need to inculcate or emphasis on those things which are the necessity at the time. May how if a people
Absolutely.
if people will carry out the water bottle, but they need the water, they need the purified
Yeah.
water to fill up those bottles, and those
Absolutely.
things can be implemented only when you have that social awareness, you have those facilities. May at ground level, I can say, a lot of things about the environmental concern, but in reality is that, I mean, they would prefer to, fulfill the needs first prior to going through those environmental concerns. So government
Yep.
need to emphasis on the basic fundamentals
Absolutely.
on the ground level. Then after we can say that we need to inculcate the behavioral change. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Some of the
Before you.
work that we have done, our firm has done, is really explore the use of a technology called pyrolysis. And
Mm-hmm.
pyrolysis can take a carbon-based, you know, product, and it essentially removes all of the water from it. And one of the outputs of that is distilled water, which you can't drink distilled water. You have to mineralize it for it to be a potable water for you. But a small pyrolysis machine in local communities could then start shifting the the requirement for bottled water. But what happens is you take your bottle, you take it back to this pyrolysis machine that then creates clean water. That is, essentially it's using waste to energy to create clean water, so that it is a now we're in a circular economy. So this is, like I was saying, it is not something that is possible to do as an individual, especially as an individual that doesn't have access to clean potable water. In Indonesia, we see this. There's loads, thousands of small little islands that don't have clean water or easily clean water, and that are dependent on boats coming in and ensuring that there is water there that is potable, that is then in plastic bottles, and then those plastic bottles get back into the environment. So having a much more ground roots level of accessibility to clean water that is not just, all right, now all of, Kashmir, we are now going to do one great big thing, is, making it smaller for the communities and making it possible for communities to afford a small pyrolysis machine or an anaerobic digester, both of which can then have byproducts of distilled water, which, like I said, is not potable water. You have to add the minerals to it. I don't know the DRT SPR channel. You've got your hand up.
No, I think we have.
And Ariel said he would like to ask a question.
I would. Hi.
Yes.
Thank you for the talk so far. One of the things I noticed on your LinkedIn page, Yolanda, is that you work with local governments to help advise them on how to engage. So thank you for explaining sort of the mechanics of how it works so clearly. My question is, how do you turn that into concrete action? So as the previous question asker said, envision you're in a place where most of the people are below the poverty line. They do not, in fact, have the cognitive load or the luxury of the time and place to think about the actions that the impact that their actions have on the environment. They have other things on their mind. So now you're a government who is a local government in a place like this, and you would like to be able to help people improve the environment locally, in full acknowledgement that the people don't have the cognitive load to make these kind of decisions. How do you engage with governments in a concrete way to produce effects like that?
Well, that's a simple question. No, there's no simple answer to that. What is needed there is to ensure that local government or regional government and national government has clear, concise guidelines of what is available to them, how much it costs, and what is the effect of being able to bring water to clean potable water to an area. The effects are enormous, and those effects can be seen as studied by academics. So we've got governments need to make decisions. The decisions that they need to make are based on research. The research that is available is based on new findings of maybe new technologies, new investments, new business models. Those business models are then dependent on the government to fund the more the research, and it's a circle. So it's not difficult these days to convince a government that they need clean water access to their, there isn't you don't need to convince people that they need clean water. You don't need to convince governments that they need to provide clean water for their citizens. What you need to convince them of is that there is an economical way of being able to bring and push this technology out that isn't just being, spending billions on infrastructure. Billions on infrastructure needs to be spent. There's just no doubt. It needs to be spent on water. It needs to be spent on rubbish. It needs to be spent on collections, I'm not arguing that there doesn't need to be spent there, but if there is a smaller technology that can be implemented on the ground, in ground roots areas, and again, work that we've done in Indonesia, really trying to push this through to make sure that is available, that the information, the technology is available to the government so that they know, these are different ways of creating clean water. These are different ways of processing food waste and other kinds of waste. And these are different ways of processing in small ground roots area sewage and sewage treatments without spending thousands as individuals or thousands, tens of thousands or millions as a local or regional government. Did that answer your question, Ariel?
So I would like to add here.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for a comprehensive answer, though I appreciate your attempt to give one. I was more just looking in the way of examples, things that what can a local government do to help help their local populace so that the system one behavior is the environmentally correct behavior.
Yeah, so I encourage them to look at pyrolysis. I encourage them to look at anaerobic digesters. I encourage them to look at a really fantastic organization. Oh my goodness, what is it called? I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry.
That's all right, no problem. But in India, we've been doing, and like I think 6 episodes earlier, our 75th episode was dedicated to decentralized solutions. And when we because everything is centralized, when it is all run by a single
Can I ask you a question?
Just a second. So when we promote decentralized solutions, then local bodies, local communities, the neighborhoods that are in need, then they can take that up and they can run it. They can own that. But if we are waiting for governments to do it, then it's going to be a big budget, big thing, lots of people. It just doesn't work on the simple local level.
Yeah.
So right from collection, the segregation of waste, collection of waste, then managing that waste, sorting that waste, everything can be done on a ward level. Like in India, we have wards. So it can be done on a ward level. It can be broken down further to lanes, to society, the bulk waste generators that have more than X number of people. So if everyone has their own system, which is, of course,
Anuja, I've kind of lost you a little bit. I'm sorry, I kind of lost the audio. Can anyone else hear her?
More entities all together, those little and for example, like
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I think there is a network issue from her end.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe she's joining again. Anuja ma'am, we can't hear.
But there seems to be a technical glitch.
Yeah. I see your hand is up. Did you have a question?
Ma'am, you said about the pyrolysis. You mentioned it. You said about the pyrolysis. You mentioned it. Ma'am, pyrolysis. I think we also use in it solid waste management also, in absence of oxygen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask? Can I ask?
I'm. Yes. Whoever wants to speak can say something.
There's a lot of cross talk going on.
Okay. Go ahead. Your hand is up. Dr. TSPR.
Can I speak? Can I
Yes.
speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
See, my straight question to you is economic behavior, patterns which we have been changing right from our younger days. When we used to travel, we used to have our own bottle, we used to carry our own food, and in between railway stations, we used to fill up that water. Now, the government itself has become so lazy, not so lazy, I say, they are getting money in the form of electoral bonds for their parties. So they are encouraging these money for in the form of filtering water or mineral water. Even in railways now, they are saying near, and they are packing in it a plastic bottle. Before, we used to have taps in every station, madam, believe me, and we used to get down, drink that water. And when we are traveling by bus, I'm talking about the public transport, and even when you go by car, they used to find these public taps everywhere, including public toilets. Of late, in the name of development, they have done away everything, and they have encouraged this plastic. And they made you to lazy, stating that water is available everywhere, you can buy. So that way, it is touching your pocket, and at the same time, you are contributing in a mass level when you travel, when you move by public transport or what. If you are buying water, which hitherto was available, a plenty in every station, and even when you are traveling, they used to give you water. Now they have changed that. Don't you think these type of changes of the government and even public falling a prey to that, it is hitting them both ways. They have to spend from their pocket, as well as, again, when government is setting up different plans, it is again the public money through the taxes which you pay. So this simple common sense, because the rulers mostly they get carried away by the decision making of those so-called officials. These officials are in tune with the corporate companies or so and so. So this vicious cycle, if we can stop, because you said economics and behavior, both
Yeah.
are involved in this. And when you have such mass transport going ahead, and you need to buy plastic bottles at every stage and leave out airports, they have become a big muzzle of looting. Don't you think the policy changes, let them make it very simple? And you know, as I am a doctor by journalist, I'm a doctor into journalism, the water, when you say through RO or mineral, they are quietly dangerous to your body, because they are taking away the normal minerals which your body, your gut can happily enjoy it. Yes, madam.
Ma'am, I want to add to this question, because my question is related to that particular part. Why didn't government emphasis on water vending machines so that the people can carry their own bottles and they can have the water? For example, 1 liter water costs is rupees 20, approximately rupees 20. If that water vending machines would be installed in such platforms, that if somebody carries her own bottle, so that water, 1 liter water could cost him rupees 5 or rupees 6. So that in the same way we can dispose of the plastic waste. Is this possible if on a smaller scale?
I wish I knew the answer to both those questions. I wish I knew how to make those kind of influences directly. I mean, or be able to answer that question, because I'm woefully ignorant of and don't have the the ability or qualifications to make those kind of statements and or reactions. I have to say that I really admired when I was traveling in China, that wherever you went, anywhere you went, you had access to hot water, boiling hot water. You could put it in your noodles. You could make a cup of tea. You had your tea bottle with you all the time, and you just were filling it up all day. You start out with super strong tea in the morning. You're a little bit jittery, but by the time the day is over, it's very, very diluted, and it's very calming, and you don't have, but you wherever you go. And I was a great admirer of that. And, it sounds like that was once upon a time in India, but I cannot tell you why or how they made those decisions to change that. Pete, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry. It's really interesting, the conversation that's happening, and it's fascinating that the issues run across the world. But a couple of points come to mind, really. Firstly, I completely agree with the kind of the government in India's moves to make everything as easy as possible for people for reasons that aren't as simple as that, and that is actually creating a monumental challenge in terms of not just access to water, but in terms of plastic waste in waterways, for example. And we have the same problems in the UK, but what I'm really interested in, and I think both you, Anuja, and Yolanda have worked on this, is that, we can sit back and wait for the government to do something, or
Exactly.
we can get up and do something locally. And there are challenges, I know, because I work in the UK and India as well. I've literally just got back, and I worked with Anuja whilst I was there. But changing minds is so difficult. And one of the sort of the most useful things about behavior economics is how we nudge. And I was wondering, Yolanda, is there anything from sort of the art of nudging around this that you found particularly helpful?
So my go-to, if you will, is whenever I talk to anybody about behavioral economics, I speak to them about the UK's behavioral insights team. And they created a really nice 4-letter acronym to talk about how to make something, how to send a message. And the acronym is EAST, EAST. So first you need to make it easy. So whatever it is, you need to make it easy. You need to make it attractive. You need to make it social or as a norm, and you need to make it timely. So the very best example that I've seen of this in a messaging standpoint, and I think I'm answering your question, Pete, so let me know if I don't have it right, but is a roadworks in the UK. And I was driving by and there was a lorry there that was, had cones, and, people were working on the road there. And there was a sign on it that said, "Slow down, my daddy works here." And it was perfect. It was a red sign with white letters on it, 6 words, easy, slow down. I'm driving on the motorway. I take my foot off the accelerator, easy. Attractive, 6 words, really easy to read very, very quickly. Social. Well, nobody wants to kill anyone's daddy, right? And timely, I'm driving right by it. And so if that had been in the car park, it wouldn't have been useful to me. So all of those messages, whenever you're having a message from a government, from a marketing, from a grassroots level, you want to look at those 4 things. And when I read every message out there. I read every billboard on every bus, or because it's my job, right? This is what I'm focused on. And I usually see of the 4 that they're missing the social. Usually, sometimes it's timely that people, put a message where it's just not useful. You want to make it useful. You want to be there where the person can actually do the call to action, perform the whatever it is you're asking them to do. So I think it's really important when you are looking at that, from a behavioral standpoint, from behavioral economic standpoint, is to remember East: easy, attractive, social, and timely. I hope that answered that question.
That's brilliant. Thanks. And Anuja, it would be really interesting to know from your perspective, with the work that you've done with families in Pune, what do you feel works?
Like in the beginning, as we started, the first thing that we discussed was people who don't have enough, or they are not able to meet their basic necessities. They are already living a very sustainable. They're like everything is cut to cut. They don't have any extra. They don't have wasteful practices. I consider them sustainable. They don't have anything to, they don't have huge garbage bins and all. It's the people who earn, the novo rich and the rich, who have lots to spare, affordable income, and they don't think twice. Maybe they don't even think once before clicking that button, tapping that buy, the green thing, sliding the submit, whatever. They don't think at all. And that is what is creating this garbage mess. And that is what is widening the disparity. That is why less people have more water, less people have more clean air, less people have all the resources, and more people have none.
So I think I want to jump in there just really quickly and say, again, we're going to come back to social norms.
Yes.
And so if we're going to try to, I want to be like them. I want to, I want to present as somebody who can afford whatever it is that is important for me to show that I can afford it. And so again, when you're kind of talking about social norms, and the social side of it is the fact that I'm wearing something, from a thrift store, which this is, am I wearing it in a way that makes me look smart, or am I wearing it in a way that makes me look poor? And that is the sort of how you, as somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, can present how you want to be how you want to be perceived and how you want to be seen. And so again, going back to that thinking, what am I spending my money on? I want to be homo economicus. I want to be the one who's being really, really smart about every little penny I make or spend, so that I am being seen as somebody who cares about the environment, as somebody, making that the social norm is, I care about the environment so much, I'm not going to buy anything.
Yeah.
But that's a really big decision. And I don't want, people, I don't want to say you can never care about the environment if you buy something, but thinking about, I'm going to make this purchase. I know I'm going to have, this carbon impact. I'm going to have, I swear to God, if you make these decisions based on your carbon impact, the kind of waste that you're going to have, how much money it's going to cost, you're probably never going to buy anything because it's really too hard. But if you can try to think about what's important to me, well, it's important to me that, the person who created this garment is well compensated. So in the UK, that means that I need to not be buying from organizations that don't pay their employees or their workers a living wage, which is a really big decision to make. And as somebody, you might or might not be able to afford that. But again, we're going to go back to, do you have clothes to wear? Can your kids go to school in the proper school uniform? And, so.
Exactly. Yeah. And right, Yolanda, I would like to add here what I tell my children, what I tell my students. There's one simple sentence. Why do you want to get this? Is it because of your need or your want? for every decision, for every that impulsive feeling that, oh, I want to get this, is it because you want it or you need it? When people start making their decisions based on this, I think there will be it'll slow them down. It will
A little
automatically
bit.
down. Little bit, yes.
Yeah. Well, but don't underestimate, especially around children, but as grown-ups as well, the incredible social pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I sadly have never been to India, but the entire social pressure around weddings and marriages, you have to perform in a certain social way, or my understanding is that you will not have the same social standing, and it's a valid concern. And so how can you maintain that? And I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this question, but how can you maintain that while staying true to your own environmental needs?
You'll be happy to know that there are so many youngsters who are doing green weddings. They are doing sustainable weddings, and they're planning for other people's weddings because they posted about their wedding and people are impressed and they want to do that. So influencers are some
Good.
places they are doing quite a good job. I think we have a
Well,
question.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to say something, Yolanda? You can
No.
finish your
I was just being very pleased about that, because it's about social change and what
Yes,
is important. And what was important to my grandmother is important to me, but not as important as other things as well.
Yeah, we can modify a little and then still do the same thing. Akhlaq
Yeah.
जी आपके पास, do you have a question? आपको पूछना था. Unmute. You can unmute yourself. Yes.
हेलो
Yes.
मैम, मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? मेरी लैंग्वेज तो हिंदी रहेगी, आप ट्रांसलेट कर लीजिएगा.
Yes.
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है और काफ़ी प्राउड फील हो रहा है कि मैं एक अच्छे प्लेटफॉर्म में हूँ. ज़्यादा नहीं, फर्स्ट चैलेंज क्या आया था मैम को, और फर्स्ट कौन पर्सन था जिनने मैम को सपोर्ट किया, मेरा यही क्वेश्चन है. जैसे मैंने जब इनिशिएटिव लिया था, तो मेरे एक अंकल थे जिनने मेरा हाथ पकड़ा कि अखलाक, यू आर डूइंग वेरी गुड जॉब और मैं तुम्हारे साथ खड़ा हूँ. तो 10 साल हो गए हैं और कुछ ह्यूमन बिहेवियर मेरे लिए चैलेंजेस थे. तो मैम को किस तरह का चैलेंजेस आए और कौन फर्स्ट पर्सन था जिनने मैम को सपोर्ट किया, एक्सेप्ट फैमिली मेंबर?
All right. So,
आप कुछ कीजिए.
okay, मैं पूछती हूँ. Yolanda, Akhlaq's question is, who was the first person outside of your family who supported your decision or your journey in this? And what were your obstacles?
Ooh. Who's the first person who supported me outside my family?
Our family always supports, right?
Yeah. It's difficult to answer that question because I'm not exactly certain from which perspective to look at this. As an environmentalist, I grew up in California, and California is known to be on the cutting edge of the environment. And so it's always been in my consciousness around the environment. And I'm going to go back to social norms. It is my social norm to engage around the environment, to engage with this sort of thinking. And there was a second part to the question, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten what it was. I got distracted.
What was your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge is looking at how big the issue is and trying to condense it into a conversation to be able to have with a meaningful conversation to be able to have with people without overwhelming them with all the minutia. Because it's not just about recycling. It's not just about what we buy. It's not just about clean water. It's not just about our crops. It's not just, it is everything put together, and that is overwhelming. So that is the biggest obstacle, is really trying to communicate in small pieces, something that we can all take away and do today, and then how we can build on that for tomorrow. And, you know, hopefully how we can influence our governments to take this seriously and to help reduce our cognitive load around the environment, to making the environmental decision the easiest decision to make.
So अखलाक जी, should I translate कि वो उन्होंने कहा कि वो कैलिफोर्निया में रही पढ़ी काफी समय तक, तो उनके लिए वो एक नेचुरल एक सोच का तरीका बहुत नेचुरल था, क्योंकि वहाँ पे ज्यादातर लोग वैसे सोचते थे. सो वो उनके लिए एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम ऑलरेडी बनता गया. और उनके लिए जो सबसे डिफिकल्ट उनको लगता है वो ये है कि जो हम इतने सारे कॉम्प्लेक्स बातों के बारे में सोचते हैं, उन सबको इकट्ठा करके उसका एक जिस्ट, एक सार बना के कैसे एक सिंपल तरीके से किसी को समझाना या बातों बातों में उनका करना, बातचीत में किसी भी कॉमन के साथ भी, ताकि उसको ओवरलोड ना लगे कि अरे ये तो बहुत ही हाईटेक बात बोल दी, हमारे लिए नहीं है ये बात. मतलब हम कैसे आम आदमी के साथ एक बड़े से बड़े मुद्दे पे डिस्कशन करते हैं ना, तो वो उसको सिंप्लीफाई करके कभी कभी उनको डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है.
सो डेट मतलब ये है कि जो हम प्रॉब्लम फेस करते हैं एज ए सच एम्बेसडर और इन्वायरमेंट, इंटरनेशनल लेवल में भी वही बिहेवियर चेंज और बिहेवियर चैलेंजेस है. ओके, थैंक यू. मेरी तरफ से काफ़ी अच्छा लगा और मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि मैं आज का सेशन मैंने एक्चुअली प्रेयर की वजह से मैं लेट ज्वाइन किया था.
No
और एक लेट इसलिए भी हुआ था कि आज हम लोग क्लॉथ डोनेशन कैंप, हमने कलेक्शन कैंप लगाया है. और वी आर वेन आएगी कल, तो एक न्यू इनिशिएटिव भोपाल में हुआ. आपको मालूम होगा मैम कि वो जो ओल्ड क्लॉथ है उससे कुछ नई चीजें इनोवेटिव स्टेप लिया है, तो वो पार्टिसिपेट में बिजी था आज में, तो मैं वाइंड अप कर रहा था. थैंक यू, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. थैंक यू मैम. से थैंक यू बोलिएगा मेरा.
So Yolanda, Akhlaq says that he's sad as well as happy to learn that the challenges are the same, what he's facing in Bhopal and we are facing in India and you're facing, or everyone else is facing wherever they are. So the behavior is coming from human beings, and I think we are all the same. There's not much
We are.
We are all the same, you know. So I'm sure that the good decisions, the good habits, when they start happening, I hope that can also be replicated pretty easily because we are all the same.
Well, and I think young people, you know, as you were saying, the people getting married
Recondition
today,
the mind that whatever water you get through public taps or in the stations and bus stations, it is hygiene and potable. The food which you get there also, it is hygienic. Recondition the minds of the people.
It's quite interesting. In California and in the UK, our water systems are very highly regulated, whereas bottled water companies, they have no regulations on them. They have very few regulations on them. They just stick water in a bottle and charge £1.50 for it, £1 for it. You know, they can do whatever they want, whereas water companies are kept to a very strict standard. So in fact, certainly in California and in the UK, if you want the cleanest water that's available, it's from the tap.
Okay, that happens in Singapore, Hong Kong, that they drink water in the bathroom, you know, from the bathroom tap as well. But that does not happen everywhere. In India, it started happening only in one state, that is Odisha, and they have sort of achieved that, or attempting to achieve that. But otherwise, the water, because of the pollution and the groundwater contamination and the agricultural insecticides and pesticides, the groundwater is heavily contaminated. Plus, we have loose policies, or not very, I would say, strictly implemented policies for the affluents that come out of the factories, and that also go into the river water bodies. And again, that's That's the catch. But thank you very much. We've crossed, like, we took extra time, Yolanda. Anyone else, if you want to ask questions, I think we'll do a part 2 of this sometime soon. I'll let you go.
I would love to come back and talk and learn so much more of the challenges. Sorry, my dog is bouncing on me.
Yes, it's you. We've been holding you up for quite a time now, but it was really engaging and really insightful, Yolanda, to learn that we are all feeling helpless and frustrated in any part of the world, and we are all trying to brainstorm and kind of think of strategies and simple ideas and techniques and tools, so we are all on the same page. And I really hope that we can do this. Let's just be hopeful.
My biggest thing, just take it in small little bits. Don't try your best and recognize what you've done and how you can change, and that's being mindful, being conscious about these things. So
yeah, that's really important, that whatever you do it happily and don't lose yourself in that.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
I shall share.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming. I appreciate the invitation.
Yes, it was a pleasure for us to learn from your experiences, and I shall share the YouTube link soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.